Have you ever wondered why some men walk into a room and without saying a single word, women are instantly drawn toward them? It's not about looks, it's not about status, and it's definitely not about playing games. It's about a magnetic energy that women can feel but cannot explain. Attraction isn't built in a moment, it's created through how you carry yourself, how you communicate, and most importantly, how you make her feel when she's around you. Today, I'm going to share with you 9 powerful ways to build that magnetic attraction, the kind that doesn't just grab her attention for a second, but keeps her thinking about you long after you've left. These are the qualities that shift you from being just another man in her life to the man she cannot ignore. The silent power of presence is one of the most overlooked yet most influential forces in human attraction, especially when it comes to how a woman feels drawn toward a man. It is not about what you say, it is not about the clever words you put together, and it is not even about how loudly you try to assert yourself in a room. True presence is not about volume, it is about energy. It is the quiet force that you carry in your posture, in your eye contact, in the way you breathe, and in the calm confidence that radiates from you without effort. A man who has mastered presence does not need to convince others of his worth because the energy he carries already communicates it. When a woman feels this energy, she doesn't always consciously recognize what it is, but she feels safer, calmer, and more intrigued in your company. Your presence becomes like an invisible magnet that pulls her attention without requiring words or explanations, and the beauty of this magnetism lies in its subtlety. When you think about presence, you need to understand that it begins with self control. The man who is restless, fidgeting, constantly needing to speak or dominate the room sends out the message that he is seeking validation. But the man who can sit in silence, who can allow pauses in a conversation, who is fully rooted in the moment, communicates that he is not desperate for approval. He becomes grounded, and that grounded energy is exactly what draws her in. When you are comfortable with silence, it creates space for curiosity. A woman will naturally wonder about you because, unlike most men who are eager to impress, you are not rushing to prove anything. This mystery, wrapped in calm self assurance, creates a powerful attraction because your silence speaks louder than words. It says, I know who I am and I don't need to explain it. That kind of energy is rare, and that is why it stands out so strongly. Presence is also about awareness. A man who is present is not lost in his phone when he is with her. He is not distracted by what's happening across the room, and he is not mentally rehearsing what to say next. He is fully there in that moment, observing, listening, and absorbing her energy. This makes her feel seen in a way most men cannot make her feel. Women are deeply intuitive. They can sense when you are half engaged or when you are truly present with them. When she feels that you are fully attentive, not just hearing her words, but picking up on her tone, her expressions, her emotions, she feels valued. And when she feels valued, she becomes drawn to you on a level that goes far beyond surface attraction. Presence is essentially telling her, without speaking, you matter here, right now. That silent message is what captures her attention and makes her want to stay in your energy longer. Another element of presence lies in your body language. You do not need to force dominance by puffing up your chest or exaggerating your movements. True presence comes from relaxed strength, shoulders back, breathing steady, movements controlled, and gestures natural. It is not about trying to look powerful, but about being comfortable in your own skin. When a woman observes this kind of natural ease in your posture, it signals security. It tells her that you are not easily shaken, that you are not here to impress, but to simply exist in your authenticity. This makes her feel that she can relax around you because your presence communicates stability. In a world full of men who are either trying too hard to show off or too distracted to care, your calm presence becomes a refreshing contrast that draws her like a flame draws a moth. The silent power of presence also has much to do with energy management. How you carry yourself emotionally creates a field around you that others can feel. If you are constantly anxious, overthinking, or projecting insecurity, people will sense it even if you don't say a word. But if you cultivate inner calm through self awareness, discipline, and emotional balance, people feel that as well. When you walk into a room with steady energy, people turn to look, not because you are loud, but because your presence interrupts the noise with something grounding. Women especially pick up on this difference. They are highly tuned into the emotional frequency of a man. When your presence radiates calm strength, it becomes deeply attractive because it communicates protection, reliability, and depth without you having to announce it. Presence is not something that you switch on and off depending on who you are with. It is a way of being that you cultivate every single day. It is found in how you carry yourself at work, in public, with friends, and even when you are alone. When you practice being rooted in the present moment, over time it becomes natural. So when you are with a woman, she immediately feels it because your energy does not waver or shift based on external validation. She sees a man who is self contained, who does not need constant approval, and that alone separates you from the majority. Presence, therefore, is not an act. It is a state of being that can only come from a man who knows himself deeply, who respects himself enough to hold stillness, and who understands that the most powerful attraction is not in what you chase, but in what you allow to flow naturally toward you. Confidence that feels safe, not threatening, is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can possess, yet it is often misunderstood. Many men confuse confidence with dominance, arrogance, or trying to overpower others. They assume that the louder they are, the more intimidating they appear, the more they will be respected and admired. But what women truly respond to is not a show of force or an inflated ego. It is a confidence that makes them feel safe, grounded, and emotionally at ease. This kind of confidence doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't demand attention, it naturally commands it. It is the difference between being around someone who makes others feel small and being around someone whose presence inspires comfort, warmth, and trust. This kind of confidence is rooted in self assurance rather than insecurity. Men who project threatening confidence often act from a place of fear of being disrespected, fear of being overlooked, fear of being seen as weak. To compensate, they exaggerate their power, raise their voice unnecessarily, or assert their opinions with an aggressive edge. But that energy does not attract long-term admiration. It only creates resistance or discomfort. Women may feel cautious around that kind of man because instead of safety, he radiates unpredictability. True confidence, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't need to dominate the room. It naturally fills the space with calm strength. It makes women feel that they don't have to be on guard, that they can relax and breathe because they are in the company of someone who is secure in himself. Confidence that feels safe is communicated not just through words, but through subtle cues in body language, tone, and presence. A man who is grounded in his self-worth doesn't need to interrupt, overtalk, or prove his intelligence. He listens as much as he speaks, and when he does speak, his tone is steady and measured. His eye contact is firm but not intimidating, direct but not invasive. His posture communicates openness rather than hostility, and his movements are calm and intentional rather than restless or aggressive. These details may seem small, but they are what women notice most. because at its core, confidence is not about making others fear you. It is about making them trust you without hesitation. Another dimension of this safe confidence is the way it makes space for others. A man who is truly confident does not need to shrink others to feel big. He celebrates the strengths of those around him. He encourages rather than criticizes, and he lifts others up instead of tearing them down. When a woman encounters a man who can admire her intelligence, her passion, or her ideas without feeling threatened, it creates a deep sense of comfort. She feels seen and appreciated, not competed with. This is what makes safe confidence so attractive. It creates an environment where she can relax into her femininity because she knows she is not in a battle for power. Instead of trying to dominate her, he gives her space to shine, and that balance is what keeps her drawn to him. Safe confidence also shows itself in how a man handles conflict and pressure. A man who relies on threatening confidence may lose control easily, raising his voice, shutting down, or resorting to anger when things don't go his way. But a man with calm, safe confidence doesn't need to react impulsively. He can handle disagreements without making them personal. He can stand firm in his boundaries without aggression. And he can communicate clearly without turning conversations into battles. That emotional steadiness creates a sense of safety for women because it shows that he won't collapse under pressure or lose himself in anger. Instead, he becomes the grounding force in turbulent moments, and that strength is far more attractive than any show of intimidation. There is also a deep vulnerability hidden within safe confidence, and that is part of its power. Many men assume that showing vulnerability weakens their confidence, but in truth, it strengthens it. When a man can openly admit his mistakes, acknowledge his feelings, or express empathy without fear, it shows that he is secure enough not to hide behind a mask. This kind of vulnerability doesn't make him less of a man, it makes him more trustworthy. It reassures a woman that she can open up to him without being judged, that he will not weaponize her emotions against her, and that his strength is not about shutting down softness, but about protecting it. Vulnerability, when carried within the frame of safe confidence, becomes one of the strongest signals of inner security. At the heart of it all, confidence that feels safe, not threatening, comes from a man who knows who he is and does not need external approval to validate that identity. He is not desperate for attention, nor is he threatened when others receive it. He is comfortable in silence, secure in his choices, and steady in his values. This stability radiates an aura that women are instinctively drawn to because it reflects something rare in a world full of noise and insecurity. It tells them, without words, that they are in the presence of someone who can be trusted, someone who doesn't just project power, but embodies it in a way that nurtures rather than intimidates. Emotional awareness is one of the most underestimated yet profoundly magnetic traits a man can develop. And it is often the very thing that separates shallow connections from deeply meaningful ones. At its core, emotional awareness is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage not only your own emotions, but also the emotions of those around you. It is the quiet power of tuning into the energy of a moment, noticing subtle shifts in mood, tone, or body language, and responding in a way that makes the other person feel truly seen. For women, this awareness is not just attractive, it is transformative because it creates an invisible bridge of connection that makes her feel emotionally safe, valued, and understood without the need for her to explain herself repeatedly. When a man lacks emotional awareness, conversations often feel surface level or disconnected. He may dismiss her feelings as too sensitive, overlook her unspoken needs, or fail to notice when she withdraws emotionally. These oversights leave her feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally isolated. On the other hand, a man with strong emotional awareness notices when something feels off, even if she hasn't said it directly. He senses her silence. He catches the slight shift in her tone, and he acknowledges it in a way that shows he is attuned to her inner world. This doesn't mean he has to solve every problem she faces, but his ability to recognize and validate her emotions makes her feel that she is not alone in carrying them. That emotional recognition is often more powerful than any solution. Another dimension of emotional awareness is the ability to manage your own emotions instead of letting them spill out uncontrollably. Many men assume strength means hiding their emotions or pretending not to have them, but in reality, strength comes from mastering them. A man who becomes defensive at the slightest criticism, who reacts with anger when he feels insecure, or who shuts down in the face of conflict is a man who lacks awareness of his emotional triggers. Women sense this instability immediately because it creates unpredictability in the relationship. But a man with emotional awareness can recognize when he feels triggered, pause before reacting, and choose a response that reflects maturity rather than impulsiveness. This self control is incredibly attractive because it shows reliability. It reassures her that he will not let temporary emotions dictate long term behavior. Emotional awareness also reveals itself through empathy, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and genuinely feel what they might be experiencing. Empathy does not mean you always agree with her perspective, but it does mean you respect and acknowledge it. When a woman shares something vulnerable, a man with emotional awareness doesn't brush it off, minimize it, or make it about himself. Instead, he listens with presence, validates her feelings, and responds with sensitivity. For example, if she expresses stress about her work, instead of dismissing it with, "You'll be fine," he might respond with, "That sounds like a lot to carry. How can I support you?" That simple shift in response communicates care, attentiveness, and emotional intelligence, all of which deepen attraction far more than empty compliments ever could. Another powerful aspect of emotional awareness is the ability to read what is unspoken. Many women communicate through subtle cues. Her body language, her silences, her expressions often reveal more than her words. A man who is emotionally tuned in notices when her smile doesn't reach her eyes, when her laugh feels forced, or when her silence carries weight. By gently acknowledging these signals instead of ignoring them, he demonstrates an ability to connect on a deeper level. This doesn't mean prying or pressuring her to open up, but rather holding space for her emotions to surface when she's ready. This patience and sensitivity show that he values her inner world, not just her outer presence. Emotional awareness also creates balance in relationships because it prevents unnecessary conflicts. Many arguments escalate not because of the actual problem, but because of a lack of awareness of each other's emotional states. A man who is emotionally aware can sense when a conversation is becoming heated, and instead of fueling the fire, he chooses to step back, lower his tone, and de escalate. He prioritizes connection over winning, understanding over being right. This doesn't mean he sacrifices his boundaries or avoids important discussions, but his awareness allows him to navigate disagreements in a way that strengthens rather than damages the relationship. This ability to resolve tension with calmness is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity, and it makes women feel that they are with someone who can lead with stability. There is also a deep connection between emotional awareness and authenticity. When a man is aware of his emotions, he doesn't need to hide behind a mask of perfection or invulnerability. He can admit when he is wrong, express when he feels uncertain, and share when something touches him deeply. This authenticity builds trust because it shows he is not afraid of his emotions, and therefore he won't be afraid of hers. Women crave this kind of openness because it creates a space where they too can be their authentic selves without fear of judgment. In a world where most people wear masks, emotional awareness becomes a rare quality that makes a man unforgettable. Ultimately, emotional awareness is about connection, connection to yourself, connection to others, and connection to the deeper currents that shape human relationships. It is about moving beyond words and into the realm of presence where feelings are acknowledged, respected, and valued. It is not about perfection or always knowing the right thing to say, but about being willing to listen, to notice, and to respond with authenticity and care. And it is within this space of awareness that true attraction takes root, because a woman does not just want to be admired for her beauty, she wants to be understood for her soul. Consistency that builds trust is one of the most powerful yet overlooked qualities in a man, and it is often the hidden force that separates fleeting attraction from deep emotional connection. In the world of relationships, promises and words can be easily spoken, but actions repeated over time reveal the true essence of a person's character. A woman pays attention to patterns, not just moments, and when she sees that a man's actions align with his words, when she notices that he shows up for her, not just once, but repeatedly without faltering, she begins to feel a sense of security that no amount of charm or physical attraction could ever provide. Trust is not built in grand gestures. It is built in the small, consistent choices made every single day that communicate reliability, stability, and integrity in ways that words alone never could. When a man is consistent, it creates a foundation where a woman feels she can finally exhale. So many women have experienced the inconsistency of people who show up with passion one day and disappear the next, who promise the world but cannot follow through, who present themselves as reliable until responsibility actually calls. This cycle breeds uncertainty, doubt, and emotional instability, and it erodes trust faster than anything else. But when a man's behavior is steady, when his words are not empty but are reflected in the way he follows through, she begins to feel that he is someone she can lean on, someone whose presence is dependable even in moments of challenge. That dependability is not loud, flashy, or attention seeking, yet it is the very thing that makes her attraction deepen into something lasting and meaningful. Consistency is also a silent form of respect. It communicates that he values her enough to show up fully and regularly, not only when it is convenient or when he feels like it. A man who texts her with warmth and presence one week, but becomes distant and unresponsive the next creates emotional confusion. But a man who keeps his energy steady shows her that his interest is genuine, not conditional on mood, circumstances, or fleeting emotions. This consistency communicates maturity and seriousness, making her feel emotionally safe. It tells her without words, "You can trust that my interest in you is not a performance. It is a reality that is reinforced by my actions day after day." That level of emotional safety is magnetic because women crave reliability more than perfection, and consistency is the truest form of reliability. Another layer to this is the consistency between words and actions. Many men talk about what they plan to do, but fewer actually execute it over time. A man who says he will call and follows through, who promises he will be there and actually shows up, who expresses care and then backs it with gestures that reflect it. This is the man who sets himself apart without even trying. The alignment between his words and his behavior is what makes him trustworthy, and that trust builds attraction that is not shallow or temporary, but deeply rooted. On the other hand, inconsistency, saying one thing and doing another, or shifting behaviors unpredictably, destroys not only trust but also desire, because attraction cannot thrive in an environment of uncertainty and instability. Consistency also reflects a man's ability to manage his emotions and stay steady under pressure. Life will always present challenges, disagreements, and moments of difficulty. And during these times, a woman observes whether his behavior changes drastically or whether he maintains stability in how he shows up. If he becomes distant, harsh, or unreliable in moments of conflict, she subconsciously recognizes that his presence is conditional and unpredictable. But if he remains consistent, even during tension, still respectful, still steady, still showing up with integrity, she sees in him the strength of character that is rare and highly attractive. This form of consistency reveals his inner resilience, showing that he is not controlled by fleeting emotions, but grounded in principles and values. Consistency also nurtures long-term attraction because it eliminates doubt. Doubt is the silent destroyer of connection. And once a woman begins to question whether she can rely on him, the bond begins to weaken. But when he consistently demonstrates honesty, respect, care, and reliability, she no longer has to wonder where she stands with him. This clarity allows her to relax into the relationship instead of overthinking every word and action. It creates emotional peace, and emotional peace is one of the most powerful environments for attraction to flourish. A woman is not only drawn to how a man makes her feel in a single moment, but how he makes her feel repeatedly. And consistency ensures that the feelings he inspires in her are not temporary highs, but long lasting comfort and connection. Beyond relationships, consistency in a man's own life also contributes to attraction. A man who is consistent with his goals, his discipline, his commitments, and his standards demonstrates a level of self-mastery that women naturally respect. His ability to stay aligned with his values and commitments, not just with her, but with his own life, communicates strength, focus, and reliability. This consistency with himself mirrors the consistency he can offer in a relationship, making her feel that his stability is not dependent on her, but is a reflection of his overall character. This kind of consistency is magnetic because it shows she is dealing with someone whose steadiness is not situational, but deeply ingrained. Ultimately, consistency that builds trust is not about perfection or never making mistakes. It is about showing up with reliability, alignment, and sincerity over time. It is about proving through steady patterns that his words have weight, his actions have meaning, and his presence can be relied upon again and again. In a world full of mixed signals, broken promises, and emotional inconsistency, true consistency becomes a rare and powerful quality that sets a man apart, making him not only attractive but unforgettable in the eyes of a woman who longs for stability and trust. The magnetic effect of purpose is one of the most overlooked yet powerful forces that shape attraction and connection between a man and a woman. When a man is deeply rooted in his purpose, when his life is guided by a clear sense of direction and meaning, it radiates an energy that naturally draws others toward him without him needing to chase, convince, or overcompensate. Purpose is not just about a career or a passion project. It is about having an inner compass that defines who he is, what he stands for, and where he is going. This sense of clarity creates a gravitational pull because it communicates strength, stability, and confidence in a world where many are lost or drifting without direction. Women in particular feel this energy on a subconscious level, and it stirs an irresistible curiosity and respect for a man who knows where he is headed. A man without purpose often struggles with inconsistency and emotional turbulence because he lacks an anchor. He may rely too heavily on relationships to give his life meaning, placing all of his happiness and validation in the hands of someone else. This dynamic, while subtle, is draining for a woman because it communicates neediness and dependency rather than strength and leadership. On the other hand, when a man is guided by his purpose, his life has a momentum of its own. His purpose keeps him grounded even when challenges arise, and it allows him to show up in relationships not as someone who needs saving, but as someone who already has a foundation and can offer stability. This independence is deeply attractive because it assures her that he is not defined solely by her presence, but by his own vision and drive. Purpose also creates an aura of mystery that enhances attraction. When a man is aligned with something greater than himself, whether it's his craft, his mission, or his vision for the future, it gives him depth that cannot be faked. It makes her wonder about his world, about the energy that drives him, about the life he is building that she might be curious to be a part of. Instead of chasing her with constant attention, he naturally sparks her interest because she can feel that his energy is already in motion towards something meaningful. This balance of being available yet deeply focused on his path creates a dynamic tension that makes her drawn to him because she senses she is in the presence of someone who does not revolve around her, but invites her into a world larger than the relationship itself. Another dimension of the magnetic effect of purpose is how it shapes a man's confidence. Confidence built on external validation is fragile, but confidence rooted in purpose is unshakable. A man who knows his why does not easily bend to the approval or disapproval of others because his validation comes from within, from his progress on the path he has chosen. This quiet, unwavering self assurance is what women find so compelling. It is not arrogance because it is not about proving himself to others, but about fulfilling his own mission. This kind of confidence feels safe and inspiring, making her want to be around him, not because he is trying to impress her, but because his very existence embodies strength, direction, and certainty. Purpose also fuels resilience, and resilience is magnetic because it demonstrates reliability. Every relationship will encounter moments of stress, uncertainty, and conflict, and how a man responds in those moments reveals his depth of character. A man driven by purpose is less likely to be shaken by temporary obstacles because his focus is bigger than the moment. He sees setbacks as part of the journey rather than the end of it. This steady energy provides emotional safety, allowing her to feel secure in his presence because she knows he is not easily derailed. That emotional steadiness, born out of purpose, creates trust and amplifies attraction in ways that charm or surface level gestures never could. Purpose also shifts the way a man treats others, including the woman he is with. When his life is aligned with meaning, he approaches relationships not from a place of desperation, but from a place of abundance. He does not seek to control, chase, or manipulate because he is not looking to fill a void through her. Instead, he invites her to join his journey, and this invitation feels empowering rather than pressuring. Women naturally gravitate toward men who have a vision because they see in them the potential for growth, stability, and shared adventure. It's not about him trying to win her. It's about him creating a life so magnetic that she desires to be a part of it. Even in the smallest interactions, a man's purpose becomes visible. It shows in how he spends his time, in the discipline he maintains, in the way he prioritizes growth over distraction. Purpose sharpens his focus and sets boundaries, and this boundary setting communicates self respect, which in turn inspires respect from others. When she sees that he is not easily swayed by temptations, that he values his mission enough to protect it, she feels a sense of admiration that deepens her attraction. It signals that he has control over his own life, and that control translates into a powerful sense of leadership and direction that she instinctively responds to. Ultimately, the magnetic effect of purpose lies in the way it transforms a man from being reactive to proactive, from being lost to being anchored, from being dependent to being self sufficient. Purpose is not about perfection, but about alignment, about having a clear sense of direction that fuels consistency, confidence, and resilience. It is the invisible force that makes his energy compelling, his presence unforgettable, and his relationships stronger because they are built not on neediness, but on the abundance of a life already rich with meaning and direction. The subtle art of mystery is one of the most powerful forces in attraction, yet it is often misunderstood in a world that encourages oversharing, constant availability, and instant gratification. Mystery is not about manipulation or playing games. It is about holding back just enough of yourself that you spark curiosity, fascination, and the desire to know more. It is about understanding the natural pull of the unknown and allowing space for intrigue to build, rather than rushing to reveal every detail of who you are. When you practice the art of mystery, you create a magnetic aura around yourself that draws others in, not because you force their attention, but because you allow them the thrill of discovery. It is not about being distant or cold, but about carrying yourself in a way that makes others feel there is always another layer to uncover, another depth to explore, another story yet untold. At its core, mystery is rooted in restraint. In relationships, one of the most common mistakes people make is giving everything away too soon: their emotions, their attention, their life story, even their vulnerabilities, before the other person has earned that level of access. While openness has its place, too much too soon removes the excitement of the journey. Imagine reading a novel where the last chapter is revealed in the first few pages. There is no thrill, no suspense, no reason to continue. Attraction works in much the same way. When you hold parts of yourself back and reveal them slowly over time, you create a rhythm of anticipation that keeps her curious and engaged. She begins to look forward to learning more about you, and this anticipation becomes the fuel that sustains her interest and deepens her desire to stay connected. Mystery also communicates confidence and self control. A man who does not feel the need to constantly prove himself or broadcast every detail of his life exudes a quiet strength. He is not desperate to be seen or validated because he is already grounded in his own sense of identity. This kind of restraint speaks volumes without a word being said. It tells her that you are comfortable in your own skin, that you do not fear silence, and that your life is rich enough that you do not need to display it constantly for approval. This makes her curious because she begins to wonder what lies beneath that calm confidence, what stories you are choosing not to reveal right away, what layers of your personality are waiting for the right moment to surface. It is this curiosity that keeps you lingering in her mind long after the conversation has ended. The art of mystery also thrives in the way you communicate. Instead of oversharing, you leave space in your conversations for imagination. You offer glimpses into your world without laying it all bare. You speak with intention, choosing words that carry weight, and you understand the power of pauses and silence. This creates a sense of depth because she feels that every interaction with you holds more beneath the surface than what is being said. It also allows her to invest emotionally because the more she wonders, the more engaged she becomes. She starts to fill in the blanks with her own imagination, and in doing so, she becomes more drawn to uncovering who you truly are. This is why subtle mystery makes you unforgettable, because you allow her to participate in the discovery rather than handing everything over at once. Mystery is also enhanced by the way you live your life. A man with purpose, passion, and independence automatically creates intrigue because his energy is not consumed solely by the relationship. When a woman sees that you have goals, hobbies, and a mission that drives you, it makes her curious about the depth of your world. She wonders what it is like to be part of your journey, what adventures lie ahead, and what it means to be connected to someone who has a life filled with meaning. Mystery, therefore, is not about hiding. It is about living so fully that not everything can be explained in a single meeting, a single story, or a single conversation. It is about letting your life speak for itself in ways that draw others to want to experience it with you. Another dimension of mystery lies in emotional presence. While being emotionally aware and expressive is vital, mystery adds an element of unpredictability that keeps her engaged. Instead of always reacting in the most expected way, you respond with composure, with thoughtfulness, with layers that reveal your depth over time. This makes her curious about how you see the world, how you process emotions, how you handle challenges. The more she sees that your responses are not surface level but thoughtful and measured, the more she wants to understand your mind and the way you think. It is this balance of openness and restraint that creates an irresistible allure because she feels you are not easily figured out, and that makes you captivating. The subtle art of mystery also protects the relationship from stagnation. When everything is revealed too quickly, attraction can fade because there is no longer any discovery left. But when you maintain layers of depth through your passions, your ambitions, your emotional awareness, and the way you communicate, you create a dynamic where she feels there is always something new to learn about you. This keeps the connection alive, fresh, and exciting because she never feels she has fully unraveled who you are. The unknown, the unexplored, and the unseen become sources of fascination that deepen her emotional pull toward you. Mystery is not about deception or creating false facades. It is about authenticity combined with patience, about understanding the power of timing and restraint. It is about knowing that attraction is a journey, not a transaction, and that discovery is often more powerful than revelation. When you master the subtle art of mystery, you step into a space where your presence lingers long after you've left the room, where she thinks about you not because you demand her attention, but because you have sparked a curiosity in her that refuses to let go. Respect that sparks emotional safety is one of the most underestimated yet powerful forces in attraction and connection. In a world where many men try to impress women with superficial displays of wealth, charm, or appearance, what truly creates a lasting impact is the sense of safety she feels in your presence. Emotional safety is the invisible foundation of attraction. It is the space where she can open up, express herself, and trust without fear of being judged, ridiculed, or dismissed. And respect is the fuel that creates that safety. When a woman feels respected, she feels seen not just as a body or a face, but as a whole person with depth, feelings, and worth. Respect is not just about how you speak to her, but how you carry yourself, how you value her boundaries, and how you treat her, even in moments where you could take the easy path of selfishness. The kind of respect that builds emotional safety is subtle yet undeniable, and it is what separates temporary attraction from something unforgettable. At its essence, respect is about presence. A woman can immediately sense when a man is truly present with her versus when he is distracted, half listening, or calculating what to say next. True respect shows up in attentive listening, in making eye contact, in being fully engaged when she speaks. It shows her that her words and emotions are valuable enough to be received without interruption or dismissal. When you lean into what she's sharing, not to agree with everything, but to genuinely understand her perspective, you communicate that she matters. This presence plants the seed of safety because she knows she won't be ignored, brushed aside, or made to feel small. The deeper truth is that respect is not something you turn on and off. It is who you are consistently. And when that consistency shines through, it makes her trust that your respect is not an act, but an extension of your character. Respect also lives in the way you handle boundaries, both hers and your own. Women naturally test men, not always consciously, but because they want to see if you truly value yourself and if you are capable of valuing them. When you honor her boundaries without pushing, without trying to manipulate, without guilt tripping, you send the powerful message that her comfort and autonomy matter. This makes her feel emotionally safe because she knows she doesn't have to guard herself against you. At the same time, when you hold your own boundaries firmly with kindness and clarity, you show her that you respect yourself, which in turn makes her respect you more. It is this balance between honoring her space and standing tall in your own standards that creates the kind of emotional safety where attraction grows naturally and deeply. Another aspect of respect that sparks safety is how you handle disagreements or conflict. Anyone can be respectful when things are easy and smooth, but true character shows in the moments of friction. Do you shut down, lash out, belittle, or insult? Or do you communicate calmly, stand firm without being cruel, and focus on resolving rather than winning? The way you handle conflict tells her whether she can trust you with her vulnerabilities. If you can disagree without making her feel attacked, if you can express frustration without demeaning her, then she begins to see you as a man who creates stability instead of chaos. That stability is the emotional safety every woman craves because it assures her that opening up to you will not be met with destruction, but with strength, patience, and respect. Respect also means valuing her individuality rather than trying to control or mold her into something she is not. A woman feels emotionally unsafe when a man tries to dominate her choices, belittle her dreams, or limit her independence. But when you celebrate her individuality, when you show her that you admire her uniqueness and that you don't feel threatened by her strength, she feels safe to be herself. Emotional safety is not about agreeing with everything she says or does, but about creating an environment where she doesn't feel the need to hide, shrink, or pretend. This freedom is deeply attractive because it allows her to relax into her feminine energy, knowing she doesn't have to be on guard or constantly defend who she is. What makes respect so magnetic is that it operates silently yet powerfully. You don't need to announce that you are a respectful man. She will feel it in the way you listen, the way you honor boundaries, the way you treat people around you, and the way you show up consistently. She will notice how you speak about women when they are not around, how you treat strangers, how you carry yourself when you think no one is watching. These small details speak louder than any grand gesture, because respect is not just about how you treat her, but how you live your life. And when she sees that respect is woven into who you are, she feels safe to open her heart, her mind, and her emotions to you. Respect that sparks emotional safety is also about patience. Women often reveal themselves slowly, testing the waters to see if you are someone who can handle their depth. When you rush, pressure, or demand too much too soon, you shatter the safety that could have been built. But when you allow her the space to open at her own pace, when you show patience in the unfolding of the connection, she begins to relax and lean in more. That patience signals that you are not driven by desperation or control, but by genuine interest in knowing her fully. It is within that patient respect that attraction transforms from a fleeting spark into a steady flame that continues to burn stronger over time. Respect, therefore, is not just a surface level courtesy, but the very language of emotional safety. It tells her without words that she can trust you, that her emotions will not be weaponized against her, and that her boundaries will not be disrespected. This kind of respect is rare, and because it is rare, it is deeply attractive. When you embody it consistently, you create a magnetic presence where she feels not only drawn to you, but safe with you. And that safety is the foundation of a lasting pull that does not fade with time. When you look at everything we've explored, presence, confidence without arrogance, emotional awareness, consistency, purpose, mystery, and the deep respect that creates emotional safety, you begin to see that true attraction is not about tricks, games, or temporary excitement. It's about embodying qualities that make a woman feel both drawn and safe at the same time. It's about becoming a man whose energy speaks before his words, whose actions carry more weight than promises, and whose respect makes her feel like she can finally exhale and be herself. Because when you weave these elements together, you don't just create fleeting interest, you create a lasting magnetic pull that she feels in her mind, her heart, and her soul. And that is what separates the men she forgets from the man she will always remember.